I'm Jimmy Reed.
And I'm Zach Audet, and this is Fireside, a talk show about important events in the news. Today we are going to be discussing a very personal topic that me and Jimmy experience firsthand every day, vaping.
Well, the first concept of the e-cigarette came during the year of 1927, but didn't fully take off until 1963. I didn't even realize vaping was a thing that far back, 80, 90 years ago. I had no clue.
I thought for sure it was an early 2000 thing, and it's really surprising actually that they even had the concept of that, because at the time smoking was pretty new, so
Yeah, and everyone smoked.
yeah, and they didn't really have general knowledge about how harmful it was for you. And so that was pretty surprising. But come 1967, that was when the first e-cigarette was actually patented.
Mm-hmm.
And it was originally like the original e-cigarettes. It looked like a cigarette. It smoked like it, well, it didn't smoke. It had
Vapor,
flavor in
yeah,
it, like a
cigarette.
cigarette. And it was pretty much identical to a cigarette, beside the fact that you weren't smoking tobacco.
So that point, that's when it wasn't a problem. That's when it was
That was
actually
not.
doing its intended purpose.
Yeah, and the intended purpose when it was created was to help people quit traditional cigarettes and get away from the tobacco, get away from the harmful chemicals within the cigarette. But come 2003, when the first modern vape was patented, that's when it started having issues. And first modern vape kind of resembles what we have today, where it was a kind of a mix in between the e-cigarette and the modern day
That was
vapes.
created by Unlick, right? That's the name?
Unlick, yeah. So we have that, and then so we have the traditional cigarettes, the e-cigarette, and then the vaporizers, which is kind of what we have today. And in 2006, the cartomizer was created, which is what we see now today.
That's what changed the whole game.
That changed the game, because now we have the ease of access. We have the refillable pods where you don't even have to buy a new device.
We have the fun with it, the clouds, the vaping.
The vaping, the flavors.
The tricks.
This is when it all started. So 2006 was kind of the gateway, if you will, to this modern era of vaping, which is problematic.
That was the big problem. The thing that is, you can refill it now, because the e-cig, when they first made it, it was like a cigarette.
Yeah,
it was a one-time thing.
Use, and then
you buy it,
you throw it away.
Then you buy more.
Yeah, so it's kind of like smoking, where it's a big investment, and now we see today where it's still an investment, but it's just a one-time thing.
And it's much more affordable.
Oh yeah. It's not nearly as expensive as smoking traditional cigarettes, which I think is also a big reason why it's a big problem today, because kids don't have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Kids definitely couldn't smoke a pack a day,
Yeah.
But the longevity of these vapes and the pods and the juice, where you can just refill it, it's very appealing, especially to younger people that don't have
makes
enough
it
money.
feel like that was the actual intended audience at this point, to make the most money. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and
it's a big industry.
I want to go over some pros and cons. So starting with the pros, I think the original purpose of the e-cigarette and the vaporizer they had good intentions, where it's going from a person that's struggling with quitting smoking, an addiction, addicted to nicotine, moving them to a less harmful substance that still has the nicotine in it, so they can slowly ease off that, and then
quit the e-cig too.
The e-cig. So it was kind of just like a step in between the two, to help people to not make it such a drastic jump like it used to be, where you kind of just dead out quit.
And another pro for it, the smell of vape, it doesn't harm the nostrils.
So it's more appealing.
It doesn't.
It's more appealing, and I mean, it's healthy, but we still don't know the long-term effects. But we know for sure that it is healthier than smoking a traditional cigarette.
We know there are 4 big ingredients. Nicotine, flavoring, vegetable glycerin, and propylene glycol.
Yeah, so we have those 4 ingredients, which is in traditional.
Which we know what those are. We know
juice.
what they do.
Yeah, we know those aren't
the problem.
Nicotine is still harmful,
it's
especially
other chemicals.
With today, which this goes into a con too. The amount of nicotine they're putting in,
it keeps going up.
E-cigarettes, it keeps going up. I mean, if we look at Juul, one of the more popular vapes, which has been in the news all over.
Mhm.
FDA has been cracking down on them for the flavors and stuff, which is
Yeah.
also a con because these flavors are appealing.
To
It's a pro.
kids.
It's a pro and a con
Cotton
because
candy, fruit flavors.
Yeah,
that
I mean-
appeals to our age and younger.
yeah. So we
Not
have
really people trying to quit.
that issue, but if we look at the nicotine amount, a one pod. So you get a pack of 4, and where
Mhm.
I work at Quick Trip, you can buy a pack of 4 for
Like-
$25.
Yeah,
And it's essentially buying 4 cartons of cigarettes because that's how much
which
nicotine.
that's much more affordable than what a carton of cigarettes
Yeah.
costs.
Oh yeah, way
Yeah.
more affordable. But the thing is, kids now are using them so fast, and they just keep using more and more because they keep using more nicotine, so they require
Mhm.
more to get their fix, if you will.
Yeah,
That they're smoking. Honestly, they're smoking a pack a day. I've seen people smoke. They vape like 1 pod a day, and that's not good. I mean,
Yeah.
that amount of nicotine
though-
is poisonous. To
although
the
there's
body.
no tobacco,
the
nicotine is poisoning.
It's
You
still-
get nicotine poisoning. There's other chemicals in it that they haven't told us that we don't know
Yeah,
about
the
anything about.
unregulated part, which is also
That
a
affects
con.
your body too in a harmful way.
Yeah, and the appeal is also a con because not only the juices appeal to younger people, but also
Yeah,
how easy the vapes are, how easy they are to acquire because of the age limit,
that's a big issue.
especially for high school. Middle school, not so much, but people still do get it in middle school.
Yeah.
But in high school, we have
18-year-olds,
18-year-olds.
legal adults that can buy these devices
legally.
Yeah.
And the only thing holding them back from
selling it to others is what
is really
Getting in
communication.
trouble, yeah.
But people don't really care anymore because, they could buy it, give it to someone outside of school, and then they'll bring it into school anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
then that's their thing.
yeah,
It's their
so
problem.
we have, I think my idea on this is the pros are good
They're
for
good.
what it's intended for, but the
They're being
cons
abused.
outweigh,
The device itself is being abused for more than pleasure than purpose.
especially what we're discussing where in school there's
It's-
definitely more there's not really a pro.
there can't be a pro.
because it's a distraction, it's an addiction, and also
It's illegal.
yeah, and also a study that I looked at that was from Live Science. It was a study done in last year, so 2018, on
Recent,
43,000 students in USA, but it was all over.
High school students, right?
Yeah, high school students. Actually, no, it was 8th graders, 10th graders,
Okay.
and 12th graders.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got pretty wide range of age, kind of, and, like, you'd think that I never even knew, really, until this year that it was a problem in middle school.
I didn't hear. My mom's actually a teacher at Chaska Middle School West, and that's where I kind of been hearing stories when she comes home. And it's crazy that they're finding 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, 8th graders selling the 7th graders, 6th graders getting caught vaping.
Oh, yeah, and we know
Just-
people that have little brothers that have been in trouble for that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's crazy to think about. But going back to the study, tobacco use has been down since they've been recording the use of tobacco, especially in high school
the
students,
90s,
since
right?
1991,
Yeah.
and it's gone down dramatically. But the issue with vaping now that comes around is people who don't even smoke are getting introduced to vaping and appeal. They just
Yeah.
see a.
They're not trying to get
appeal.
over cigarettes.
No, they just see.
They're
an
just trying to
appeal
do
in
something
vaping.
fun or cool.
Yeah.
Seeing someone else do it, they think it's the next big thing.
And so
Which it
the
has turned into the
survey,
next big thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the survey says that around 28% of all 43,000 students that they surveyed
That's a lot. That's 1 in 3, pretty much.
admitted to not only having a vape but using it in school on a daily
Yeah.
basis. And so that's 1 in 3. That's 1 in 3 students that they surveyed.
Yeah.
And this includes middle schoolers too. This
And that's
includes 8th
crazy.
graders, and it's
I believe the study also talked about then the use of marijuana after they asked the vape question. There's still like around just over 1 in 5 kids, students, also smoke marijuana.
yeah. So the survey said that 24% of the 43,000 that were surveyed
Yeah.
admitted to using marijuana on a daily basis, and so it's not in school, but still, the use of So yes, we do have the pro where we're not seeing use of cigarettes, traditional cigarettes,
Yeah.
tobacco use within high school students, which was a big problem, especially in the 1990s till the early 2000s. But now we have students who are not only using vapes more often that haven't even touched a cigarette, but we also have students that are using marijuana on a daily basis because it's so easy, and you can even vaporize
marijuana.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have this issue. It's making drugs a lot easier to use.
A lot more used,
accessible,
more frequent.
Yeah, and I mean, we have kids like it's discreet. That's also a big thing in school. It's
Yeah.
discreet. It's hard to catch.
Especially with new vape device formats like dab pens. They're not vapes, but they're designed very similar. Yeah.
They vaporize
the
THC, the marijuana. They vaporize the drug.
Yeah. And it was evolved from the early e-cigarettes.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much. It looks exactly identical to e-cigarettes, and you can even smoke. They have vaporizer now that you can smoke juice. You can smoke juice with THC in it. You can do, it's just so it's opening up a new door for.
It's making the purpose of e-cigs not even just vaping. It's making the use of marijuana easy and cool, and you can do instead of vaping in school, kids are now smoking weed in school, but not smoking. They're vaping weed.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a huge problem, and I think that's why this is so newsworthy, is that we see this in school, and it's definitely not getting any better. It's getting a lot worse, and that's also a big issue because we have teachers and counselors struggling to help kids, and they don't understand. A lot of kids don't understand how the addiction even works. They don't understand that it's a habit formed, and their brain actually changes. And that's also another thing where we're looking at after not only the physical health of these kids,
now looking at the mental
health of these kids, because it does affect you. It affects your emotions. It affects your thinking. It affects brain development. And I mean, there's not really a positive to using a drug like nicotine, or I mean, there's not really a positive to caffeine even besides that but there's negatives to everything, but there's a lot more negatives when it comes to vaping, especially for the younger kids.
And especially in school, it makes kids uncomfortable. Like, I can speak from personal experience. I'm trying to go to the bathroom, and it's just like a group of like 10 kids vaping, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, and
this
it's like,
weird.
It's weird because you never used to walk into a bathroom and everyone would just stare at you blankly and like to see like, oh, is he cool? Is he not cool? And it's like, you're not going to tell on anyone, but
it's just like a weird feeling. It's like,
it's just a weird feeling because it's like, do you really need to do that now?
Yeah, and it almost makes you not really want to go to the bathroom. I mean, I still go, but it's just like, it's kind of weird. Everyone's staring at me too. It's weird.
The lack of privacy was already there in public bathrooms, but now it's completely, it's just there's always people. And I mean, it's hard to even help these kids because it's so discreet.
Yeah.
And so the news, I mean, if we focus the news around this, if we make people more aware of what they look like, what it smells like, how it functions.
They have been trying. Like, I know there's like conferences with teachers, like what is a Juul, what everything is.
Yeah.
There is, but it's also very innovative. Like, now there's more new devices. Like, they're only learning what was...
Oh, they're coming out with new devices
They're learning
every
like
week.
3 years ago stuff. Like, the Juul, that's been a thing for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's just gotten really big the last couple years, but now there's so many more devices that are so unrecognizable. Like, they all look very similar, but they're not.
Yeah, one of the major issues too, I mean, it keeps every year, from what I've seen and from the studies, it keeps getting it keeps getting younger and younger how many people use it on a daily basis, and even the fact now
younger kids, more users, this is crazy.
Yeah, and there's a story on Care 11 where middle school, they're finding 12-year-olds with vapes.
I know.
That say they're using it every day, and I mean, that's just, so if we can spread it around the news, if we can make people more aware, and the FDA can then crack down better on it to restrict it, to make it not as accessible but also not as appealing to younger kids. Mm-hmm. And we can do that through the news, so that's why I think that this is
a start.
It's a good topic.
They've started, with the removing of certain Juul flavors. Now you can only get mint, but there needs to be more. There needs to be more awareness, more laws, more restrictions. I feel one of the biggest ways to deal with this is if we raise the age limit to 21, just like alcohol. It would just make the selling and use in high school so much more difficult. Because what 14-year-old knows a 21-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be cases all the time. I mean, no matter how old you raise
siblings, cousins.
It's whatever. But the majority of the people wouldn't then be able to access it, or at least as easy, which would deter them.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, I see it when I work, you know, kids even from, and they're doing that now where it's a citywide decision now where
Yeah.
you can decide, you know, like in Eden Prairie, I have kids come, excuse me, I have kids come from Eden Prairie that come to buy Juul pods and e-cigs because they can't in Eden Prairie anymore because they raised the price. They raised the age limit to 21.
But isn't it crazy that they can just drive 10 minutes
Yeah.
and then go get them somewhere where it is legal?
I think until it's on a nationwide scale, it's not really going to be deterred. I mean,
even a
statewide,
that'd be a start.
Yeah, that'd be a start. But I think
it's hard.
Yeah, I think it has a long way to go. And I mean, the FDA is cracking down on the flavors, which is one of the major issues. But I think still the level of nicotine, I think they need to regulate that more. I think they need to lower that. They need to regulate what goes in the juice.
Flavors.
Yeah,
you gotta make it less. They gotta make it less appealing to kids.
The flavors need to be regulated,
but
also the ingredients, because yes, we have the 4 main ingredients which most major brands use, but there's some brands that they sell cheaper options, so that's more appealing to kids, but then they're putting in
cheaper
substances which are worse for you, and they're substituting the chemicals, which it cuts cost in production, but also it causes a lot more harm to the user, and we haven't seen the long-term effects of the 4 main ingredients yet, so we need to, I mean, we're studying it now, and we're going to study in the future, but it's still, I mean, dangerous, because we didn't know the long-term effects of cigarettes, and now we do, and we know how bad they are for you, so it's kind of the same thing.
I feel the intended purpose is good, but, you know, it's being abused. If we can get back on the right track, maybe make it far less appealing to kids under 18, and for people who have never smoked cigarettes, it could be used for good, but ultimately it's not good, and it's very bad in our high schools today.
Yeah, so I mean, in conclusion, my opinion is that I agree with you in saying that the intention of the e-cigarette, especially when it was created, was good.
Yeah.
I mean, removing the tobacco, removing the hundreds of harmful chemicals in cigarettes, and kind of simplifying it down so that people who are addicted to nicotine can get a healthier alternative and then hopefully quit. But it's been blown so out of proportion that the FDA, schools, I mean, everyone's trying to crack down on it, but I think we need more federal laws restricting the age, restricting what flavors, restricting the amount of nicotine, and I think until then it's still going to be a major problem in schools. So
that concludes our talk show.
This has been Fireside. I hope you enjoyed.
I'm Jimmy Reed.
And I'm Zach Audet.